Welcome students. In this module, we shall look into another two branches of philosophy, namely ethics and logic. Let's focus on the five main branches, out of which two will be the main focus. And let us try to understand in this particular module what are the salient features of the two main branches, that is ethics and logic. Towards the end of the module, students will be able to explain the salient features of each branch of philosophy. You will be able to compare and contrast the different branches of philosophy and understand the different issues of each branch of philosophy. We shall begin with what is ethics. Now, this branch of philosophy is concerned, or it tries to determine the good and the right thing to do. What is right and what is wrong? What is good and what is bad? Now, the next point, it refers to the study of our values and moral principles and how these relate to our conduct and to our social institution, because our social institutions foundations rest on values and moral principles. Our conduct also is quite dependent on our values as well as moral principles. What are the issues that ethics focuses on? These are the issues which are related to our day-to-day practical life. Some of the issues that ethics focuses on are abortion, suicide, euthanasia. Now, these are the issues which are very much related to our life, which is related to our society and to the nation at large. We have seen so many suicide cases being reported in our dailies or on the news channels. The issue that comes up where ethics is concerned, are they morally right? Should abortion be approved? Is it ethical or is it unethical? What is euthanasia? Another question which ethics focuses on, should capital punishment be banned? Because we know what is capital punishment. Should it be banned or should it be allowed? Coming to the salient features of ethics, we shall begin with the first point about ethics. It's a normative science. Now, when I say normative science, it means it is a branch which talks about what a man should do and what a man should not do. That means ethics is a normative science that studies the conduct of human beings in society. What should be the conduct of man in society? How he is supposed to live? What he should do and what he should not do. Ethics, it involves systematizing, defending and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. There are three basic features of ethics. One, ethics is a science as it is systematic, organized and has a definite subject matter. It's a normative science which deals with norms, values and ideals. Ethics is theoretical but has a bearing on our practical life. So, from these three important characteristics, we see that ethics plays a very dominant role both in our conduct as well as in our social institution. Coming to the next branch is logic. Now, this is a branch of philosophy which reflects upon the nature of thinking itself. Without thinking, man cannot be a rational animal. Logic is a fundamental branch of philosophy. It touches upon issues such as whether our thinking is correct or not. Some of the questions which logic deals with: what is correct reasoning? What is valid argument? What is a sound argument? Reasoning can be classified into two types. One is called deductive reasoning, one is called inductive reasoning. Now, let me explain to you what is deductive reasoning. Now, when we talk about deductive reasoning, reasoning always takes place in form of statements which are grouped into two types. You have what are called as premises, that is the given statement, and then from the given statement you infer what is called as the conclusion. I'll give you an example here. When I say all men are mortal, X is a man, then what happens to X? He's also mortal. Why? Because he's a man, man is mortal, and all men are mortal. So, therefore, from the given two statements, I draw a conclusion saying all men are mortal. Now, this type of reasoning is called as deductive reasoning. Now, I'll give you one more example. If we look at the dark clouds in the sky, what do we infer from the dark clouds? That it's going to rain. This is called as reasoning. So deductive reasoning is one type of reasoning in which the conclusion is obtained from the given statements, which are called as premises. So you have to draw a conclusion only from the given statement. You cannot go beyond the given statement. This type of reasoning is called deductive reasoning. The next is inductive reasoning. Now, in this type of reasoning, conclusion is based entirely on the observation of samples. That means you have to observe different samples in order to arrive at a conclusion. This type of reasoning, therefore, is called as inductive reasoning. Deductive arguments are always certain. Now, why they are certain is because the conclusion that you draw is from the given statements, which are called as premises. So you don't go beyond the given statement or statements. From there only you draw the conclusion. That's the reason why they are called as certain. So the certainty is considered as the central feature of deductive arguments. On the other hand, if you look at it, inductive arguments are highly probable. Now, what is the meaning of probable? The meaning is any time the conclusion is likely to change. Now, we have two examples here. I say all men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Now, this is an example of a deductive argument. On the other hand, if considering the example of inductive argument, we say crow 1 is black, crow 2 is black, crow 3 is black, crow 4 is black, and therefore all crows are black. Now, if you look at this particular example, the conclusion, therefore all crows are black, is true as long as you look at the samples like 10 examples or 10 samples or 100 samples or maybe 500 samples. But if you see a crow which is not black in color or which is like, for example, if it is gray in color, then your conclusion all crows are black is going to become false. That's the reason why inductive arguments are called as probable. So probability is the central feature or the central characteristic of inductive argument. Whereas if you look at the deductive argument, why it is certain? Because the conclusion Socrates is mortal is obtained from the given two statements. Look at the two statements, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. So the statement Socrates is mortal is obtained from the given two statements, namely all men are mortal and Socrates is a man. So there is a connection between man and mortality. And because Socrates is a man and all men are mortal, he also gains the same attribute or the characteristic of mortality. And that's the reason why we draw the conclusion Socrates is mortal. Looking at this, we therefore define what is logic. So logic is the study of methods and principles used to distinguish between correct reasoning from incorrect reasoning. So therefore logic is called as a formal science. Now why it is called as formal science? Mainly because it focuses on methods and principles. These formal methods and principles helps us to distinguish between correct and incorrect reasoning. What is aim of logic? Now, aim of logic is to discover and make available those criteria that can be used to test argument and sort good arguments from bad ones. Why we should study logic? It improves the quality of one's reasoning. For another reason, it helps us to develop our reasoning skills. It's an art as well as science. These are my references.